Hey, good evening. You know, if it's 6 p.m., 6 o'clock, and it's a Wednesday, it's time for Off the Record with Allie. So glad to be back here with you. Now, going into our third episode, our third part of this conversation on building mutually rewarding relationships. Wrote a book about it, and it's all about how do we come together and use that lost art of building powerful relationships. Man, do I have something exciting to share with you today. I got a guest that, I call this brother from all the way across the ocean, literally. He's over in Saudi Arabia. And I was like, hey, man, I got to have you on the show. But because of the partnership, the friendship, the relationship that we have, he didn't even think it a bother. But you know what? I'm really excited. So I want you to listen wherever you listen. I want you to join me in welcoming none other than Cheddy W. Matthews to the show. Cheddy, welcome to the show, man.
Ali, it's so good to be with you. First, before we get started, can I just say your intro music is pure fire. I'm just going to put it out there. That was amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. I can't take the credit for it, but you know what? When I heard it, I was like, that's me. That's got to be it. That's the one we got to do. Man, I'm so glad to be here with you. But, I want my guests to know who you are. You're going to read about him on LinkedIn. You can go and find him. But this is the founder and CEO of his own coaching business. And I'm not going to steal the thunder. I'm going to let him tell you about himself. Go ahead, Cheddy. Take it away.
So, hey, amazing people. My name is Cheddy Matthews. I'm a podcaster myself. I have the Winning Inside podcast. I have a new podcast coming out soon. I also do Cheddy Speaks, where I'm a speaker, teacher, and coach. And then I have my own company, which is Headspace Coaching, where I try to help people go from good to great and great to amazing. So come see me. If I can help you and add value to your life, come find me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm findable. That's all I got. I'm not doing more. Stay amazing.
So when you come and join me, you get to pitch your show, because what it's about for me is about helping people make sure that they know what my guests do. And that's the power of building these incredible relationships.
Yeah.
Cheddy, we're into this third episode of the SHIPS framework. I wrote a little book about it called Engage, Invest, Grow, and it's all about teaching people the power of building relationships. Because what I saw, as I wrote about yesterday, there seems to be a deficit right now. We got a societal deficit around people having compassion, around people appreciating and respecting each other. And that E word really troubles a lot of people, showing empathy, putting yourself in someone else's place,
right,
and helping grow. But with the power of relationships, when I think about it, we have such a incredible thing that we can focus on today. We talked about at the beginning in episode 1, relationships, and the foundation of what a relationship is, that is mutually beneficial. It's not just you pour in and get nothing back. It's you pour in and you can make a withdrawal, but it's not you go and open the account and you immediately trying to take the bank. It's about nurturing and growing together. And today's focus on partnership, and what we're talking about there is the movement that strengthens organizations, the drive sustainable success. Because when you talk about true partnership is not transactional. It's really transformational. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's true. So you have friendships, and that's kind of a mutual kind of an agreement. Like you said, it's a reciprocity that goes on, but it's a diffuse, diverse, kind of dispersed reciprocity. It's not you do for me, I do for you. It's just, it happens organically. But when it comes to a partnership, to me, that's a little bit more of a formal structure. But the beauty in a partnership, it usually is two people or two organizations, two entities that are like, I bring this to the table, you bring this to the table. So 1 + 1, we come together, we can make 4. We can create some synergy here. We can do great things together that we cannot do by ourselves. And it's usually mutually beneficial. And you can go to places where your aligned goals, you have these aligned goals, you have these diverse strengths, you bring them together and you can get to that place where you're trying to go, where you could not go by yourself in a lot of cases. Either you can go there as quickly or as well by yourself. So I think a partnership is a great thing because it's not me following you. It's not you following me. It's us going together.
You know what? He just explained, folks. You talk about breaking down and unpacking a statement. He just unpacked the whole statement. The whole title of this particular section of the series is walking together with shared purpose. I always talk about relationship catalysts. So I want to take Cheddy and I back to when we first met. Who would have thought that a Caribbean kitchen, we're sitting at a family reunion, family get together, and these two Marines find each other.
It's funny how that works.
We found each other, but you know what? It was a connection from the very start. That
Absolutely.
somewhere in the middle of riding on a bus to a football game, we nurtured it, and then over the years, we just been able to have. I believe in God steers your destiny and where you're supposed to be. I'm walking through Caesar's Palace, going to a conference, and who do I see?
I'm not gonna lie. It made that conference that much better. I mean, I knew some people there, and it was good to be at this conference. But seeing you, being in some of the same places, watching you on stage do your magic live and in person, was worth it for me. It was amazing just to see. If you don't know, Ali is a heavy hitter, and he won't say it, so I'm gonna say it for you. Like, he's a phenomenal human being, and if you're looking to like grow your business, organization, or yourself, if you're not reaching out to Ali, you're missing out. You're absolutely missing out. So I'm just saying that to you guys out there in podcast world. He's right in front of you. Reach out to him because he's a phenom and he's my brother and my friend. And I am honored to be able to say that. I'm honored.
You know what? I appreciate that I received that because in this crazy world, a lot of times we don't share and we don't talk about each other enough. And that's the mission that I'm on, Cheddy, with all of this is people say, well, why do you do this? Well, I'm on a goal to touch 5 million people before I leave the face of this earth. I've been hanging around for 63. That means I got about 37 more to get it right. And in that 37, I do want to add some humanity back into being human and teach people the lost art of relationships, And when I think about it, I think about partnerships. We built a partnership that we not being in the same room, being on opposite sides of the country and now opposite sides of the world, we are still partnered. Can you share a time in a partnership when either in your military career or in business that partnership made all the difference in the world?
Which one? You pick an area.
Exactly.
I think I have realized for a long time that in my world, I like to nurture relationships because they can turn into partnerships. I don't nurture the relationship for the partnership. I'm just fully aware of the fact that organically this can happen, or I might see a need where this can work. One of my favorite cartoons growing up as a kid was Voltron. And one of the things I liked about Voltron, you had these five lines, different color lines, different strength, different personalities of the people operating these lines. And when they had to fight a big beast, like it was going to destroy the universe, they would form together and these lines would form into like feet, legs, arms, body, head. And then you had this massive robot Voltron that would just take over to save the day every week, save the day. But I like that because people came together for a common purpose and a common goal to do something they couldn't do by themselves. And as a kid, I was like, I like that. Something about that stuck. I think it was one of those formative moments where you're like, there's something in that. And then being a Marine for so long, I think you realize that you got to do this thing. You need people to help you do this thing. I'm good at what I'm good at. That's all I'm good at. I'm a novice and a mediocre at best in other areas. Let me stay in my zone of genius and align with someone whose genius is somewhere else, so we can go further, longer, better together. I just think we're better together than we are apart.
Isn't that amazing? That's what we really learned in the Corps. I can remember being a little Lance Cooley. For y'all who do not know what that is, that's an E3 in the United States Marine Corps. The rank is called Lance Corporal, but this is when you got a little swagger to your step. You've been in about 18 months. You've been through school. You may be on your way to your first duty station, and a Lance Cooley is just, he kind of cool. He kind of laid back. He wearing the uniform properly, finally. And he got a little bit of expertise. So, that swag is on now, But I remember being a Lance Corporal and being able to go over and build friendships and build relationships. And I will tell you, I agree with you 100%. When I talk about partnership, I tell people, well, which one? Because see, what I find is when I'm in a partnership, we're walking together with a shared purpose. Our values align and mutual investment. Marine Corps was a great foundation for me to be able to build those skills because it was one mission. We were so crazy that they taught us one shot, one kill, sir. I think that was because they didn't want to waste ammunition, but
It worked. It
it
worked.
worked in terms of
Yeah.
defining that when you put your best effort forward, make it one shot, one kill,
Yeah.
one opportunity to get it right and knock it out the ballpark. And you can do that when you're working in a team and you
Absolutely.
have shared purpose. When you're
Yeah.
when you're on a team and you know something about each other, when you begin to take down the walls and you begin to care a little bit about that person, show appreciation for them and
Yeah.
respect what they bring to the table, then you find that beginning of your values align. High performing teams are all about aligning values around the mission and vision of the company. And then when you're
Yes.
making mutual investment, that's when people are walking away going, "Wow, you know what? I don't mind working on this team because Cheddy pulls his weight." And I know you can think of a time where you've been in some
Anytime.
situations where there were some non-negotiables about what you wanted on that team.
Right. Absolutely. Well, you said it right. When you talk about high performing teams, one thing about a high performing team that you'll notice is you know your lane, you know what you're doing. Everybody trusts that you know your thing and they'll allow you to do your thing so they can do their thing. I mean, you've been in situations, you've probably said this once or twice, and I'm going to paraphrase, but this is something I've said a lot. I can do your job. I do your job very well. But if I'm doing your job, who's doing mine?
That part.
So,
Right. To play off that, my statement was, well, if I had to do your job, which one
why
of us
do I
don't need to be here?
that's chapter 2 of the same. I mean, really, that's part 2. That's the quiet part. Like, let's think about it. So you realize that when you have teams that are focused and aligned, where everyone's in their, let's call it their zone of genius, their level of excellence, that place where they are really performing at their peak, it enables you to do what you're good at. I've been on teams where I know I'm not good at certain things, terrible. Certain things I'm just terrible at. But if I can find somebody to do those things, it enables me to stay where I'm hot, stay where I'm focused, stay where I'm sharp, stay where the problems are solved quickly instead of trying to figure out how to do this other task that I'm not good at, I'm a novice at. First of all, even if I spend all day doing it, it's going to be shoddy work. Whereas the person who's good at it can do it in 2 hours, knock it out. It's better than anything I could have ever conceived. And the energy isn't wasted. You're not frustrated. You don't feel misaligned. You don't get discouraged because I don't like this. It's not fun. I don't want to do this anymore. You're just like, I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm in the zone. I'm hot. I'm knocking it out of the box. And you're good because you're in your space, in your lane. As we always say, staying in your lane. This is an example of that, doing your job that enables others to do their jobs. And at the end of the day, the mission is accomplished a lot quicker than it could be done if you try to do everything yourself. Now,
And so, excellent way of talking about partnerships because a lot of times people don't think they're in a partnership on a team. I'm on a team. Well, Allen Iverson was an incredible basketball player,
oh yeah,
and on the team, he often put the team on his back. But what would have been had he not had to do that, and everybody was pulling their own weight? We'd be
exactly,
talking about Philadelphia having 6 rings, and
exactly.
and Allen Iverson being the GOAT. Not to take
Yeah,
anything away from AI, man. I'm a fan, bro,
of
because
course.
anybody can do what you do and not practice, bro. I'll be in the gym for the rest of my life. It can't come close to the game that you had.
Yeah, but
But
you're saying something. Yeah.
on a real, when you think about it, but it is those partnerships. The great teams build great partnerships.
Yes.
I am not a Kansas City Chiefs fan. So if you're listening and you are, please don't hold this against me. But I had to talk about what an amazing partnership the Kansas City Chiefs have become, though. You got Patrick Mahomes again. And for me to say this, it's true, okay? Because I am not a Chiefs fan. My team. Let's not even talk about them. They got a nice stadium, and y'all can play. You can play a lot of video games and a lot of casinos. My team ain't ready yet. We ain't there. Los
It's coming.
Angeles. Oh, I'm sorry, the Las Vegas Raiders. See, I'm still hoping. I'm still wishing that they go back home to Oakland. But
Great stadium. I'll leave it at that. Great stadium.
the Raiders, the Raiders, they need to understand what Patrick Mahomes and that whole team has from their coach who's
Yeah.
leading that. They're in a partnership. They're
Yes.
all executing. And when they all execute, that's why they win the championships. You know, you can join my haterade over here, but you can't take anything away from their ability to get the job done. They get the job done because they see I must do my part. The biggest part of partnership is do your part. When you do your part, and when you can sit down and then spend the first two elements that we talked about, you know, the foundation of do I want a relationship, but then
Mhm.
spending time to learn about each other. Do you think they don't know about each other? They know when they're gonna cut. They know when he's gonna pump. They know when Mahomes gonna roll. They know how to get free. You
Yeah.
know, Travis Kelsey. I swear that dude is like he must put Teflon on when he get on the field because it's like as soon as they get in trouble, he's free. He's
That
open. They're in synergy. They're in sync. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about: a shared purpose. They want to win the game.
But let's talk about something else because you kind of alluded to it. So I'm going to kind of dig into it a little deeper. When you talk about partnership at that level, aligning with someone else to accomplish a greater goal, there's some things you've got to do personally. You've got to strip away a little bit of that ego, thinking that I can do it all by myself. You've got to actually admit, confess, acknowledge, whatever you want to call it, the fact that you may not be the best person to do this thing. That as awesome as you are, you may be good, but you may not be great in this area. So maybe you need to outsource that. Maybe you need to give that task to someone else. Maybe you've been doing it this way for 10 years, but someone else comes in and can do it a little better than you. Maybe you need to give it to that person. That can be tough, especially if it's your baby. If it's your enterprise, your organization, your mission, you created it, and you want to hold everything because you've been doing it since day one. Because sometimes what got you there is not going to get you, what got you here, let's say it that way, is not going to get you there. So just because that got you to this point, it doesn't mean it's going to help you to transcend to the next level, next echelon, next phase of your growth journey. And that's tough.
And folks, he's not just wearing the gold shirt. Those were gold nuggets, bro. Those were nuggets right there. You know, whether you're new to leadership, you're in mid leadership, or you're at the senior ranks and, well, I built this company. Well, but is it going to advance? Let's talk about a company that didn't get that right. How many people remember Polaroid?
Uh, that is such a, it's like a MBA cautionary tale. You know, you hear it all through business schools. They'll talk about Polaroid or Blockbuster. And you're like, you look at these case studies, just like,
So
could
you
have
know
hired
me,
me
I'm
to
always
fix
going to bring out some facts. Facts are they were still shaking it like a Polaroid picture while
it.
everybody else was moving to digital because
And they
they were
had the
stuck
technology.
in. We have always done this way. And what you say, Cheddy? They had what?
Technology.
They already had the technology, and all you had to do was swallow some ego and say there may be a new way to do it. I want to speak to people that are in multi-dimensional workforces right now, multi-generational workforces.
Oh yeah.
Every element of your workforce is important. From that well-tenured individual, might be aging over 60. He's got the or she's got the experience. But when you couple that with the new person that just graduated college, they got the new technology. When you can blend that and create a partnership, that's what differentiates you from other teams, from other organizations, from other companies. When you can do that, I'm here to tell you, man, that's coming together and creating some special sauce that's going to create some things. You know, I'm
Yeah.
old enough to remember the jingle uh, from McDonald's. You know, and the jingles from Burger King, you know, special sauce was in both of them, if you notice. But
That's
who's
true.
outlasting?
Right.
Who's outlasting? See, the special sauce was a part of the Big Mac.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And then and Burger King came in and said, special orders don't upset us. Well, somewhere along the line, we stopped taking those special orders and they kept sticking to special sauce.
That's awesome.
And you know, the great thing about it, folks, just to bring it really home, one of the greatest distribution channels in the world is McDonald's. They can take a cup of soup, decide to sell it tomorrow, and they'll sell more cups of soup than anyone else, even a soup kitchen. They will
Yeah.
sell more than a soup franchise that specializes in soup.
So,
Why? Because the distribution, you're coming to McDonald's,
yeah.
but doesn't mean you come to get a hamburger, doesn't mean you come to get a chicken sandwich. You know,
Exactly.
I can remember my kids were like, when they did sell soup, and so I'm really dating myself. Go back and look it up. McDonald's sold soup. They became the number one distributor of soup the day they decided to do it. But I'm here to tell you, man, it's like when you believe, but they had non-negotiables that led to success. They weren't going to cheapen their brand for anybody. They weren't going to go outside of the box for anybody.
Mhm.
They were going to bring things in. And if you came into McDonald's, you came into McDonald's and you conformed to the McDonald's standard.
Oh, yeah.
And what are the McDonald's standards? Them golden arches mean stop here. You know, I think of another iconic brand like that. You might be going to the store to get an orange soda, but what we telling people we're going to do? I'm going to go buy a Coke. Standards, non-negotiables. And what I want people to take away from that is the trust, the communication, the alignment, the shared purpose.
Yeah.
Those are the things that differentiate good partnerships. When I spent the time to learn about you, I then can move into partnership with you because of the 3 C's. And the 3 C's are great partnerships. If you got your reflection journal, here they come. The 3 C's. It's clarity. At McDonald's, there is no confusion. I'm going to get fries or a hamburger or a Coke.
Yeah.
I might pick up an apple pie on the way out. Now, by the way, we added ice cream to go with that apple pie.
If it's
throw
working.
some hot fudge on there if you want to. It's always an upsell.
Yep.
And you know, and if you ain't come in to get the quarter pounder, we can get you a quarter pounder now with bacon. We give you a quarter pounder deluxe. We're gonna find a way, you know, and I just love using that as an example because everybody can relate. The next time you go into McDonald's, think about the purchase you're making. What's the first thing we do when we get there? We've been there 27 times. Person says, man, take your order.
We are scanning, we're scrolling, even though we already know. It's like we're conditioned to do that.
In the last 30 days, nothing.
Exactly.
But they have clarity, they have shared goals, clear expectations, and they have defined roles within that restaurant. That's why they move. That's why, as a new franchise owner, you're gonna learn how to cook fries.
Right.
You're gonna learn how to flip burgers. You're gonna learn how to unfold and stack buns. You're gonna go through every element to learn that. The other one, the other 3 C's, and I'm gonna kick this back to Cheddy, is communication. Communication. They're open, they're respectful, and it's timely dialogue. It's not long before you get in front of that screen with the menu that you already memorized before that person is saying and having some kind of communication with you.
Yes.
Would you expound upon that from your, so, you know, get me out of this. Obviously my tummy must be hungry for some McDonald's, but my wife ain't gonna let me have it.
Good.
But communication.
Good. I'm on her side. So I'm going to focus on communication. I'm glad you actually stopped there because communication is an interesting thing. When you think of partnerships, what keeps coming to mind is like a marriage or a relationship. And one of the key components of a marriage or a relationship, and sometimes they'll even call a partnership a marriage. You've heard that synonym used a few times, is communication. But communication, I'm going to go a little further. It's not just I send a message and you receive a message and you send one and I receive one. It's that, but speed that up. It's a relay of information. And the more that relay happens, the more you become connected. The more, Allie, I can do the things that you need without you saying it because I understand the implicit and explicit communication that's going on. The more I understand the patterns and the rhythm and the vibe and the tone and the tenor, I can tell when you're off and I can step in because we know each other that well. I can tell that if you need a boost, I can give you a boost. If you need something else, if I need a boost, you give me a boost because we are in communication, which means we're in sync, we're aligned, we're vibing together, no matter how you want to phrase it, because we have different ways of saying it. But being in communication with someone you're in partnership with means that you are flowing with that person. That energy exchange equals that value exchange equals that success exchange, where you get to extract the best out of each person and I keep going back to that common goal. You both get to extract the best out of each other for a common goal. And sometimes you could be in a meeting and it could be as simple as, for those of you who are listening to this, that was just me giving like a subtle head nod. Sometimes it could be as simple as just going, a simple subtle nod where you're like, yes, I approve. And the other person knows exactly what's going on. And
that's right. That gesture of affirmation, right? It's a gesture. You don't even have to say anything. You just know. And also they can let you know when you off your game.
Oh yeah.
Real quick. Your partner will let you know, nah, well, you know,
which is good. They
You
know
know, but
this.
I think of it. So we're both Marines, folks. If y'all didn't know that, Simplify, hello to the Marine Corps, 250 years.
Yeah,
But I think about what a team that everything is about communication, partnership.
yes,
You are mesmerized by the silent drill team. Know that that platoon of Marines is so in sync, and depending on everybody, what they're doing is that razor sharp bayonet that's passing by their brother's head, they know you're going to do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it because they have shared values. Number one, they're all Marines, and there's just a degree of excellence that you must subscribe to. And then these brothers take it to another level.
right, right.
Two, I can count on you. I trust you. Your word means something. Your credibility means something. And that goes back to clarity,
Yeah,
communication. And you talked about it, so I'm gonna bring it home. The other C is commitment, clarity, communication, and commitment.
commitment.
Holding
Yeah,
each other mutually accountable and each sharing a long-term vision. Now, that precision movement of the Marine Drum and Bugle Corps playing or being silent while these young silent drill team members, and I need to let you know, most of them haven't even been in the Marine Corps more than 5 years.
right, right.
They go straight to boot camp, straight to the
School of
barracks and learn
Infantry.
how to handle that weapon.
Yeah,
Okay, but they do it with such precision and accountability. They know each other are going to be there. They can count on it. And you might say, well, what does that have to do with being a Marine? In the Marine Corps, if you say 07, be on my flank at these coordinates, I know you there at 0655.
right.
You probably got there because the first sergeant is a little anal retentive. You probably showed up at 545.
Exactly. It's been backed up a few times. You'll be there.
You
You'll be there
know,
no
but the
later
key
than.
thing is I know you'll be there. When we talk about leadership from a place of service, share how does that mindset show up when you're building and nurturing those partnerships, Cheddy? How does that show up?
You've got to. I'll show me mine if you show me yours. You've got to be a little vulnerable. You've got to strip it. Like I've said this about the ego before, but let's go a little bit better than that. You've got to. You've got to be a little intimate with somebody who you're a partner with, because they need to know what you look like on your bad day. How do you function when you're off? What triggers you? What deflates you? What happens? What do I need to prevent from happening to cause you to be in a space where you're not performing at your best? What deflates your confidence? What fires you up? What are your fears? Why are we doing this together? What if it doesn't work? What if we don't agree? What wins out? Is it the strength of our personalities, or is it the mission of our organization or our partnership? What wins? I mean, one's going to win or the other, but what is it? And can we still work together when we're not at our best? It's great when we're winning. What if the numbers aren't coming in? What if we're not hitting the numbers? The OKRs are off. We're just not hitting the mark. What happens then? What do we do then? That's the true test. That's the true test of a partnership. I mean, when things are great, it's easy. When things are going south, when the wings are falling off the airplane, when the train's going off the rails, what do you do at that point? And that can be the challenge, because do we dissolve this partnership or do we keep going? And then what are your non-negotiables? What are the things that happen if you break this line, if you cross this line, you violate your integrity in this way, we're no longer a partnership? What is that? Because you want to know what those guardrails are too, because it helps people to kind of walk in alignment. If you're off and you're too far off and you go astray, we're like, we can't partner anymore. I can't trust you. I can't trust your performance. I don't trust your character. I don't trust you as a human being, which is, oh, it's kind of painful, but it can go there. You want to know. Or you violated our trust. How do you fix that? It's on you now to fix that. However you got to deal with it. Those are real things, because we're talking business, we're talking partnerships, but partnerships are an alignment between two entities. Usually that
Right.
involves a person at some point. If you're dealing with a person, you're dealing with personalities and emotions and ego and fears and all the other things as well. Those things are messy and they're not black and white. They're kind of gray. So you're dealing with the gray in a black and white business or organizational structure, but there's a lot of gray in there that doesn't fit equally and neatly and finely into those black and white parameters. What do you do with that? What do you do with that?
You know, strong questions because and real, you know, and this is the real talk. Every time we have an off the record conversation, we get to the real talk, folks. And
Yeah.
that's where, what does it look like for you? What does success look like? And how do you ensure both sides benefit and grow from it? How do we do that? And then here's the big question, Cheddy. I'm gonna put you on the
Yeah.
spot. How do you know when it's time to renegotiate or release a partnership? Because sometimes it's run its course.
And that's okay. I have a thing where I'm saying we can always part as friends. I say that a lot. We can always part as friends. I'll still support you. But I've had some situations where it's like, we're done. It was good for a season and we will not do business together again. And honestly, I'm not mad at that. I've come to realize that that's a learning point because sometimes it's a mistake. Sometimes it's ran its course. But in all of those situations, no matter what the genesis of that situation is, you realize what is the takeaway from this that I learned in the 1,000 range or the 10,000 range that I need to know for the 100,000 range or the million range? Where's the learning point that I learned here that's going to benefit
Right.
me in another place? Because if I didn't learn it here in the thousands and I keep doing the same thing, I'm probably going to lose some money in the tens or hundreds of thousands. So learn the lesson. What is the takeaway? What character? What of my standards did I violate to do this? What did I overlook? What did I assume? What did I miscalculate? So what can I do better the next time? What did I learn about myself? What was I telling myself that wasn't true about myself? I value this. And then you get to this and you're like, this is not what I want. Okay, well, let's reassess what you value. So it's tough because it's painful because a relationship, it becomes like a friendship, like family, like someone who you're really close to. You bond with a partnership. There's a bonding process that happens, which means there's going to be a grieving process when it terminates. And you've got to be real with that. You've got to deal with that, just like you're grieving a loss of a friendship or a life or of a thing. You've got to grieve that and deal with that. If not, it's going to affect you going forward. That's tough. That's tough.
No, real words there because I can think of a time where, you know, you had to part the relationship. I can remember when, as the project CEO, it was my responsibility to make sure we maintain good relationships with our vendors. And one of our vendors just wasn't measuring up.
Yeah.
And while I was hopeful that I could get them coached into where I needed them to be,
Yeah.
I had to make that decision and that it was time to renegotiate what we were doing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that renegotiation led to, well, we can't be partners, not in this endeavor. We'll keep you in mind for future, but not in this endeavor because we had certain parameters, we had KPIs that had to be met that your part of the project wasn't happening. So we had to make that decision and wanted to bring it home there for you. Really, Cheddy brought it home because it could be a team member, it could be a business partner. And there comes sometimes, you know, a lot of people write those exit clauses. Like I always tell people, you know, if we're going into business together, let's divide the pie before the money is made. Let's also decide how we get divorced in the event we don't work well together. Because I think about people who are friends who enter into business, and you know, I always tell people our friendship is more than any type of profit.
Yes.
And I have walked away from some things and left money on the table, and people look at me sideways. But I'd rather maintain the friendship than to have it tied up around money or an intangible. Some people might say, well, money's tangible. No, the tangible thing is the relationship. Because I knew this person far before we ever decided to go in business together. And it was more important to me to maintain that. Again, going back to what I was talking about before, the 3 C's in scholarship is having credibility.
Yeah.
One of them is your credibility. It was so important for me to maintain my credibility and my reputation than for me to just make money off of somebody or to use someone. You know, it was interesting. You know, and I've had the opportunity, and Cheddy has as well, to lead in business, and now he's the coach. And you know, I shameless plug for him. If y'all looking for a coach that can help motivate you and brings a smile to any situation, that's Cheddy Matthews. I'm here to tell you, you know, But let's talk to a young leader for just a moment, Cheddy.
Oh yeah.
If a young leader came to us today asking how to build their first real partnership, what's one piece of advice that you'd give?
Honestly, know yourself first. Know yourself first. And when I say that, know what you're good with, good at, what triggers you, what you don't like, what turns you off in a person. And it sounds crazy, but if you deal with somebody and you know that they have a trait that you absolutely don't like, if you cannot get beyond that, you're not going to work well together. Know that. And it's okay to walk away. Have the ability to walk away just in case. Some people feel that they're very committed. So, well, this person wants to work with me. I feel obligated, so I get in it. If it's not for the right reasons, there may be some asymmetry there. Things will not work properly if it's asymmetrical. Now, if you're a fit and you work together, then work together. If your goals align, that's fine. If you can accept where there's misalignment, but you're okay to compensate for it, that's fine too. But if you know yourself, you will know what you'll accept, what you'll reject, what you can compensate for, what you'll forgive, what you'll overlook, and what your hard line is. You do this and we're done. You know those things. It will save you a lot of trouble in the back end if you do that in the front end.
100%. Golden nuggets again, folks. Hope you wrote that down. If you need to back it up and play that again, that's a golden nugget. So I'm gonna go back to where that came from. For me, that was the rules of leadership, right? Know yourself and seek self-improvement. I have
Yeah.
lived those ever since hearing them, and being willing to say, you know what, I got that wrong. As a leader, being able to tell your team, hey, look, we didn't do that right, and that's my fault. I'm gonna take the one on that because I got the L on that. Builds amazing credibility with your team.
Yes.
They begin to see you as a human. They begin to say, I want to be a part of that partnership. Because you know
Absolutely.
what? He don't think that he's everything in anything. And bringing this full circle, I just want to say thank you, my friend, for coming across the waves, Saudi Arabia to Jacksonville, Florida, and we are touching everybody in between. That's the beauty of a podcast,
Yeah.
is being able to talk with people. And if this episode resonated with you, send it to a partner, a professional, or a person that is close to you, and start a conversation about where you're aligned and where you can grow together and how things can happen. Because what it's really all about at the end of the day is, if we can care about people, we can learn about people, then we can partner
Yes.
together and our shared outcomes become our goals, and it will lead us directly into where we're next. And you can pick up the phone and sponsor. Cheddy
Perfect.
Matthews, thank you for joining me here this afternoon on the Off the Record with Allie. And
Thank you
folks,
for your time. Thank you for letting me be here. It's always good to be on the phone with you, in person with you, or on a podcast screen with you. This is pretty amazing. So thank you for the time and the opportunity.
thank you, and thank your lovely drive for letting me pull you away. Folks, this is the middle of dark 30 over there where they at. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just here to tell you, man, it means so much, warms my heart to be able to be on this with you. And folks, and in closing with you, I just want to say, hey, if you want to listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. Download us, like, share, drop me a comment. You can reach me on my email at otrwithallie@gmail.com. Drop me a note. Love to hear from you. Love to hear your feedback. And don't forget, if you want our ship's reflection journal, something for you to write and to follow along with this series, we got 2 more elements to go through the ship's framework. Just go to our
Nice.
Facebook page, click on the comments area, and put in ship plus your email, and we'll email you the free journal for you to follow along with the show. Cheddy,
Awesome.
thanks for joining us. Folks, thanks
Always
for
a
tuning
pleasure.
in. And always remember, if it's a Wednesday at 6 o'clock, it's time for Off the Record, the Real Talk podcast with Allie Braswell. We promise to be unfiltered, promise to be unscripted, and definitely unapologetic. Thanks. See you next week.
Bye for now. Stay amazing.